The sun beat down on the congested streets of Lagos, turning the air thick with heat and car fumes. Horns blared. Street hawkers yelled out deals. Somewhere in the chaos, Amara, just 13 but sharp beyond her years, clutched a melting sachet of fan ice. Her mother, Gloria, trailed beside her, shoulders sagging beneath her faded yellow uniform shirt, worn from too many hours scrubbing office floors. "Mama, close your eyes," Amara beamed, peeling the wrapper slowly. "I got your favorite." Gloria managed a tired smile. "Amara, you shouldn't have spent your lunch money." But before she could finish, a black SUV zoomed past them, wheels slicing through a muddy pothole. The splash hit them like a slap. Cold, dirty water soaked Gloria's skirt. The ice cream slipped from Amara's hand, splatting pitifully on the steaming pavement. A man in designer sunglasses sat in the back seat. Ethan Cole. Everyone in Lagos knew that name. Billionaire. Ruthless investor. He didn't so much as blink in their direction. His driver never slowed. Amara stood frozen, eyes wide with disbelief. Gloria bent quickly, whispering, "It's fine, let it go," as she tried to pat her daughter dry. "But he didn't even say sorry," Amara said, her voice sharp. "It's not worth it. People like that, they never look down." Amara's fists tightened. Her voice dropped low. "Why should we always be the ones to keep quiet?" For a moment, her eyes followed the retreating SUV like it was prey. Something shifted in her chest. Something bold. The melted ice cream dripped between her fingers, but she didn't care. That man didn't just ruin a treat. He stepped on their dignity. And Amara wasn't about to let that slide. The next morning, the city was already boiling with life by 6 a.m., and Gloria was halfway through mopping the marble floors of Cole Towers, the corporate palace owned by none other than Ethan Cole himself. She moved quickly, carefully, wiping, scrubbing, head low. But exhaustion clung to her like her sweat-soaked uniform. She stepped into the elevator, arms full of cleaning supplies, not realizing she'd pressed the button marked, "Executive Only." The doors slid open on the top floor, and standing there, in a crisp navy suit with that same unreadable expression, was Ethan. His eyes narrowed. "What do you think you're doing here?" "I'm sorry, sir. I didn't mean," she stuttered, clutching her mop. "I pressed the wrong button." "You cleaners don't get to press wrong buttons here," he barked. "Go back where you belong." Gloria's hands trembled as she bowed her head. "Yes, sir. I'm sorry, sir." But someone else heard. Amara, seated in the reception downstairs with a tattered novel in her lap, looked up sharply. She had been waiting quietly for her mother to get off shift, but that voice, sent fire racing through her chest. Without thinking, she bolted up the stairs 2 at a time. The receptionist called after her. She didn't care. The doors flew open. Amara's voice rang like a whip. "You talk to her like she's dirt, but one day, dirt grows flowers you'll wish you could afford." Silence swallowed the floor. Ethan turned slowly, stunned. No one had ever spoken to him like that. The girl, tiny, fierce, soaked in boldness, stood between him and her mother, shaking with fury. And somehow, in that moment, Ethan couldn't look away. Something about her rattled him. The echo of Amara's words clung to Ethan Cole like a ghost. "Dirt grows flowers you'll wish you could afford." He laughed it off in the boardroom, barked orders like always, signed 3 multi-million-dollar deals before noon. But when night came, silence had a way of stripping his armor. 15. That was how old he was when his mother died in her sleep, hunger still on her breath. They'd been squatting in a moldy one-room shack after his father vanished. School was a joke. Bullies laughed at his worn-out slippers. The day they buried her, he didn't cry. He clenched his jaw and swore, "No one would ever look down on me again." Now 38. His penthouse overlooked Lagos like a god surveying ants. But for the first time in years, a voice broke through the glass. That girl. That girl. Her eyes didn't flinch. Her fire so familiar. He sat by the window that night, watching old CCTV footage from the office lobby. There she was, Gloria, mopping floors, face pale but focused. Every movement calculated. Every smile forced. She looked just like his mother. The resemblance wasn't in her face. It was in the weight she carried. The silence. The sacrifice. Vulnerability he always believed was weakness. But now, maybe he wasn't so sure. And without even knowing it, Ethan began watching. Quietly. Obsessively. Because sometimes the thing you try to crush is the very thing that reminds you once survived. Gloria's days began before the sun and ended long after it disappeared. At work, she scrubbed floors, polished glass walls, and carried bins twice her weight. At home, she sewed torn uniforms, washed Amara's socks by hand, and still managed to smile over cold beans and pap. But there were days, more often now, when her vision blurred. Her chest tightened. The world tilted just slightly. Yet she hid it with practiced grace, never letting Amara see the trembling in her hands or the pain in her knees. Doctor's appointments. She skipped them. Medications. Too expensive. That money, even the smallest coin, was saved in a biscuit tin hidden under her mattress. Amara's university fund. No illness was going to steal her daughter's future. One afternoon, while Ethan reviewed schedules in the janitor log, an older cleaner named Mom Nkechi leaned in, voice low. "Oga." The other week, Gloria fainted inside the elevator. We helped her up. She said it was hunger. Swore she was fine. But that woman isn't fine. Ethan didn't reply. That night, he checked security footage again. Frame by frame, there it was. Gloria collapsing gently against the elevator rail. No drama. No scream. Just her silently folding like a flower in the wind. And seconds later, she was back on her feet. Cleaning. Smiling. Ethan stared at the screen long after it ended. This woman, he realized, wasn't just surviving. She was bleeding strength. And no one, not even he, deserved to treat that kind of woman like she was invisible. The compound smelled of damp clothes and wood smoke, children's laughter echoing faintly between rusted zinc rooftops. Ethan Cole stepped out of his black SUV, flanked by two assistants, his sunglasses hiding the storm brewing in his eyes. Officially, he was there to assess a new company outreach program. Unofficially, he needed to see them, her. Under a sprawling mango tree, Amara sat cross-legged with four younger children, chalk in hand, teaching them multiplication tables on a cracked slate. Her voice was clear, commanding, hopeful. A few steps away, Gloria scrubbed the concrete stairs leading to a room with broken shutters. Her face was pale, glistening with sweat, one hand clutching her lower side between strokes. Ethan watched, frozen. This wasn't the office. This was her real life. Quiet, brutal, noble. He stepped forward, surprising everyone. "Mrs. Gloria, let me take you to a hospital." She blinked, stunned, then shook her head. "No, sir. I'm fine." From behind the tree, Amara rose slowly, arms folded, eyes piercing. "Now you care." Ethan didn't answer. Because for once, he didn't know if his money could fix what his arrogance had broken. The next morning, Ethan stepped out of his car just as the compound gate creaked open. Amara stood there, arms crossed, her chin lifted in quiet defiance. She didn't speak. She simply held out a folded note. No envelope, no name. Just trembling fingers and eyes that refused to blink. He took it. "No thanks." No words. She turned and walked away. Back in his office, he shut the blinds and sat heavily at his desk. The city roared beneath his windows, but for once, he didn't hear it. He unfolded the letter, written in slanted, childish script. "You can keep your money. We're not asking for favors. But at least treat her like a human being. Even the sun bows to flowers every morning." The words hit him harder than any boardroom betrayal, any courtroom loss. Tears he hadn't allowed since his mother's burial slipped past his walls. They weren't loud. Just quiet streams tracing a face too used to power, too unfamiliar with humility. That girl, had cracked something no one else dared touch. He pressed the letter to his chest. And for the first time in years, Ethan Cole wept. Not for them, but for the man he used to be. The letter wouldn't leave him. Neither would her face. Ethan Cole couldn't sleep, couldn't think, couldn't silence the echo of a 13-year-old girl who spoke like thunder in a storm of silence. The next day he called HR. I want a full report on Gloria E.'s employment history, previous addresses, everything. Within hours, the file landed on his desk. He opened it casually, until one line froze him cold. Former position: care assistant, Rosegate Orphanage Foundation. His mother's orphanage, long shut down, long buried with her memory. His hands shook as he flipped through the attached documents. A faded photo showed Gloria, years younger, holding a tray, surrounded by children. His heart dropped. Suddenly, he was 15 again, standing barefoot outside a bakery, rain soaking his shirt, stomach twisting with hunger. That night, after being thrown out by his uncle, he had wandered Lagos for hours. A woman, quiet, slim, with tired but kind eyes, had approached him near the church gates. She handed him warm bread. No questions, just a gentle hand on his shoulder. Eat. You'll be okay. He had never forgotten the taste. He'd just forgotten her face. Till now. Gloria wasn't just a cleaner. She was his first moment of mercy. The very spark that had kept him from falling into darkness. He leaned back, winded. This wasn't guilt anymore. It was debt. And Ethan Cole knew. He owed that woman everything. The rooftop restaurant glimmered with soft lights, but Gloria sat stiffly in her seat, eyes darting to the glittering cutlery like they didn't belong to her world. Amara was quiet beside her, arms folded, face unreadable. Ethan arrived alone. No assistance, no pretense, just a man stripped of his ego. "Thank you for coming," he said, easing into the chair across from them. "I know I don't deserve it." Gloria gave a polite nod, but her guard was up. "Why are we here, sir?" He exhaled slowly, folding his hands. "Because I owe you both more than an apology. Gloria, years ago you gave a lost boy bread and dignity. That boy was me. I didn't realize it until recently. And I've treated you like you were invisible." Gloria's eyes widened slightly, a flicker of memory blooming in her expression. "I want to fix what I've broken," he continued. "I'd like to cover Amara's full education, university, anything she needs. And your medical care too, fully." Silence. Gloria blinked. "Why now?" Ethan's voice softened. "Because I finally see you. And I don't want forgiveness. I want to change." Amara leaned forward, arms still crossed. "Words are easy, Mr. Cole. People like us. We've heard a lot of promises." He nodded slowly. "Then let me earn your trust. One step at a time." The city lights sparkled behind them, but tension held the air still. It wasn't forgiveness yet, but it was a beginning. Just across the street, parked beneath the shadows of a jacaranda tree, a sleek black sedan purred softly. The windows were tinted, nearly opaque, but inside, a pair of cold, calculating eyes studied the rooftop scene through high-powered binoculars. Madison Cole, Ethan's estranged ex-wife, adjusted her designer sunglasses as a wicked smirk tugged at the corner of her lips. "Zoom in," she ordered her driver, who silently obeyed, angling the lens toward Gloria and Amara seated across from Ethan. Madison scoffed. "So this is who he's replacing me with? A cleaner and her little brat?" Her voice dripped with venom. "He never brought me to that rooftop." The camera shutter clicked. Again. And again. She leaned back in the leather seat, flicking her manicured nails against the door handle with calculated grace. She wasn't just watching, she was planning. "He always had a weakness for strays," she muttered. "But I'll remind him what happens when you drag trash into high places." She glanced once more at the photos on her phone, zooming in on Amara's defiant face, Gloria's cautious eyes. Then she whispered, almost gleefully, "Let's see how long they last in his world." The engine hummed as the car pulled away, quietly like a storm waiting to hit. To be continued. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you'll be the first to know when part 2 drops. You won't want to miss what happens next.